It's going to be the ingredients, the recommended funnel building ingredients, costs, what to avoid, and then how to ensure your success and what you can do now, whether you have a funnel, whether you don't have a funnel, it really doesn't matter. And then what can you expect when you start promoting your sales funnel? Yes, I realize I just saw this. I'm talking in third and second person there. So just as a little tip there, I'm going to give you some guiding principles and frameworks that are really important to hold on to. And there's this particular quote I've always held on to, and that is, methods are many, principles are few. Methods always change, but principles never do. So, I mean, I remember learning how we as humans are kind of like cockroaches. We just constantly build up immunities to the different ways in which we get marketed to. And then they just don't work. But the principles never change. The methods do, right? So that's why I also want to kind of infuse within you is to help you understand. If you understand these principles and these frameworks, then anything else that you do, you'll have a better foundation to know what methods should you be implementing and using. So, all right. And then lastly, we'll have a Q&A. Okay. But before we do that, I do want to give some disclaimers, big disclaimers. First off, okay, we're going to have some fun. Okay. I am not one of these guys that just runs the PowerPoint and it looks just very ordinary. Okay. There's going to be lots of food metaphors and analogies. So if you're hungry right now, I just encourage you to grab something, maybe have water or something. Okay. So, and then lots of just dumb, stupid jokes. Okay. And then I will say though, big disclaimer here is that I don't know anything. There really is only about a small slice of the entire pie when it comes to conversion optimization, funnel building, that I understand, that I know, and there's so much more, as you can imagine. So I've got a little slice here, so I'm not afraid to say I don't know when we come to that Q&A time, but I'm always committed to finding the answer or finding the person that'll have the answer for you. And then the other part of this is there is going to be a ton to chew on. Okay, it will feel like a pie eating contest, or you've been forced to eat into that. So you might get frustrated because there's a lot here, but this is really an overview. There's some details that you're probably gonna want to ask about at the end, and that's cool. We may not even have time for all of those details, and that's fine too. You can always send me a ticket. I can always answer your call in future coaching calls on Wednesdays. But again, I just want you to understand there's going to be a lot here. Don't let yourself get frustrated. Understand my goal is to give you confidence, to give you a sense of, to take away the overwhelm that a lot of the technology piece that's a part of this creates. And so I really want to just kind of remove that out of the way for you. So what are the most important funnel building ingredients? Well, but before we do that, okay, so some of you, I get this now and then, and I don't want to leave someone out in case you're asking, okay, what's a funnel again? And that's okay. It's totally legit. Okay. So we're just going to review that real quick here. Okay. Basically it's a series of pages, right? That in this case, you've got a registration page, a landing page. And then it'll move down to the power content page in this context of what I build for the most part, but just this is more so called a high ticket sales funnel, lead generation funnel. And so it'll go from registration page to power content page to schedule page, and then over the shock and awe page or the bonus content page. And I'll explain a little bit more about what those are, but the 20,000 foot view of this If you haven't seen the video on the 20,000 foot view of this, it'll help to explain more of these details. But basically, it's going to start from wherever you're promoting your offer, right? So in this case, in this context, it's going to be Facebook. How many of you guys are on Facebook? I mean, how many of you are making offers on Facebook? Go ahead and just put something in the chat. Just put 1, that's fine. And 2, not yet. That's totally fine. No judgment here. It's all good. All right. Okay, so I just needed a moment to ask the question to get a drink of water. That was really an excuse. So basically, you're going from Facebook in that context over to the registration page, okay? And again, this is just to define a funnel, a sales funnel, or the high ticket lead generation to sales funnel. The next phase here is the registration page, also known as the landing page. And just to clarify, the term landing page gets thrown around a lot. And just so you know, the landing page is always the first page of a series of web pages or a campaign, whatever the case might be. It's just always the first page. That's the page you land on, right? And then it goes to the power content page, as you saw on the previous slide, and the schedule page, and then the bonus content page. But what happens behind the curtain, behind here, is these emails will go out once someone says, yeah, I want in, I want to know, I want to watch this, I want to consume your content. That's when you, an automated system or an automated series of emails will go out, and that's powered by some type of email marketing platform, which I'll go into, just so you know, the different types of platforms for each of these ingredients. And then you have schedule once, or essentially a scheduling platform, right? And that's going to make make it possible for someone to book a call with you. And then, but that also follows them up with confirmation, reminder emails, text, things of that nature, and then potentially, over to getting on a call with you, right? So that's pretty much kind of the large view, the 20,000 foot view of a sales funnel. All right. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go through this list, okay, of these ingredients. And one thing I want to make sure, well, first off, you could download this list, as you can see here. Yeah, if you want to write it down, otherwise I can share it with you, or Kayleen can just like type it up and share it with you, whatever you want to do. So, so basically you're essentially looking at 6 main ingredients, okay? You've got the domain or hosting company, otherwise known as the registrar, okay? So by the way, if I talk any nerd language, just let me know, just give me a heads up, like, hey, please cut out the nerdy language. I don't understand what you're saying. So a domain and hosting company is essentially where are you going to get that website address, right? It's not where are you going to put your website, okay? It's just where you're going to get that address, and you can get them at a host of different companies, right? But the ones we have seen a lot of success with that we use is Namecheap. They start at 99 cents, $1 through GoDaddy, Bluehost. I will just tell you, I used to run a website called cheapskatekeith.com many years ago, and one of the things I will tell you, just being an old cheapskate, is that you're always going to find some type of coupon out there for just finding a domain for real cheap. So if you see like $15.99, don't buy into it. There's always something cheaper there, because you're probably looking at it to buy many other domains possibly too. So the next section is the funnel building platform. we at CIA love ClickFunnels. It's the platform that we use. There's pros and cons about it. It starts at 97. It's super easy to use. Well, I say that, you know, of course, I've got a technology background to some extent, but it's very, very reliable. It's been out for a long time. It's helped us achieve a ton of success. And that's really one of the main criteria that that basically informs any of these recommendations, right? So so even Kartra, that's been used by other very successful marketers as well. Lead Pages, Kajabi, all of these have been around for a long time, for a number of years. So, and we've seen people have great success with them. And then going on to the email marketing system, you've got Active Campaign, which is what we use. That's going to be about $15 a month. And just as a heads up, just kind of a side note, what I'm mainly doing here is I'm giving you the first tier of or I should say the recommended tier to use, the recommended plan to use with each of these for the most part. Active Campaign, $15 a month. Aweber, it's going to start. You can actually do it for free up to 500 subscribers. And then you've got some other services like Get Response. They start at 15 up to 1,000 subscribers. And then the MailChimp, which you're all pretty familiar with. I imagine you've heard of it. That's $15 a month. I do recommend the standard plan. Because that gives you the ability to actually create automations, whereas anything before it, it's very, very limited. So, and then scheduling platform. So a lot of you have heard or use Calendly. I love Calendly myself. There's some other great tools coming out that I'm also tooling around with, playing with. But Schedule Once is great, Acuity Scheduling, all of these prices, as you can see, again, these are the ones that we kind of recommend to start at. Vimeo, it can be free or as low as $7 monthly. I sound like I'm selling these things. I'm not, I'm just putting these things out. And then Wistia, you've got the free plan. Really, it's the reason we're not recommending like YouTube is because if you have YouTube, what ends up happening is that versus like Vimeo or, well, Wistia, not so much, but Vimeo, you can actually remove the logo, or not even just remove the logo, but the logo is not, it's not clickable within the video. Whereas on YouTube, if you have a YouTube video, we used to, in the back in the day, we used to be able to actually take code and actually remove that logo so it can't be clicked on and someone doesn't get distracted by, you know, cute kitten videos or whatever. But now that's no more. The YouTube logo stays on there. So that's why we're recommending Vimeo and Wistia. They're very clean and they don't stray someone away going over to YouTube, right? And then Zapier. So Zapier is it's like a bridge between some of these platforms, right? So whereas you'll have someone schedules a call with you, say on Calendly, well, your funnel building platform will not tell your email marketing system, or I should say Calendly won't tell your email marketing system, provide the contact information to your email marketing system without some kind of bridge. They don't have an integration already worked within the system. So there is this bridge system, which is kind of like it's Zapier. There's some other services around there, but for the most part, what you need is free. It can be provided to you for free. They provide essentially a Zap is like a bridge. So if you just need one bridge to make it so that your the information someone submits on Calendly goes over and sends that information over to Active Campaign, then Active Campaign will either update the information they've already received from when someone opted in, or they'll create a new contact file. So that's where that helps. Of course, if you have questions, more details, I can go into that afterwards. But again, these are some overview here on some of these tools. But yeah, there you go. There's the list here. So let's keep moving forward here. I want to give you some tips though, because this is a question I get a lot. Which one should I go with, right? So there are 2 websites that's going to be very helpful for you. And they'll actually pay you for your review too when you start using whatever platform you end up using. So it's G2 Crowd or just G2. You can just Google G2 or Capterra. And what they do is they will compare side by side a list, or basically 2 columns of all the features and benefits of whatever 2 platforms you want to compare. And that's based upon all the reviews they've received. So they'll look at user friendliness, customer service, reliability, all of these different features. And so that's super, super helpful to help you make that decision. I will say though, some of the recommended tools, again, we're pretty much giving them to you or recommending them to you because of the criteria that is very similar to what you'll find in these kind of comparison charts too, because they are reliable, they are user friendly. That we've seen them work really, really well. Their customer service is great. Things of that nature. So, right, okay. Here's the warning. Big warning is that you don't want to sign up too early or buy these things too early. It's like pulling. My son and I were cooking pizza the other day. We pulled pizza out too early, and the crust was doughy. So don't do that. In the midst of, as you're going through wherever you are in your journey within the kind of the members training area, it's really important you stick to that place. Stay in your lane. Stay on just stay with what you're doing. You don't want to buy these things too early. And the big reason is because one, what happens is that they might offer a really great deal, but oftentimes the ones that are offering really great deals are kind of in their beta version. And so that can be really bad. And so I'm going to show you some things to look for to know if it's too early, if it's should you sign up. So the things that you want to watch out for is you're not done with your power of content. One, that's really important. Okay. If you're not done with your power content, I don't recommend moving too fast to get something. If you want to get acquainted, if you feel confident, maybe building your own funnel, cool, great. But again, just in the pursuit of finishing your power content, that should come first. Really encourage you to do that. And then if it's new on the market, as I mentioned before, if it's new on the market, it might be in its beta version. They might not have much of a user base. They might have a lot of bugs, right, to be worked out of their system. And so that beta version is usually priced really low so that people can get in, start using it, and then they start seeing all these different things that need to be fixed, optimized, things like that. But the other cool thing of what you can do is you can actually search YouTube for tutorial videos. Not just promotional videos and tutorial videos by the users, not the actual company, because they might have a ton of tutorial videos, but if there are not enough if there's not much of a user base actually telling you how to use the platform, that can be a sign that it's too early. And then let me see here. Oh, yes. Okay. So that's my cue to tell you a little principle here. So one thing to always remember when it ever comes to different bells and whistles of whatever platform you're doing, or however you're designing your sales funnel, whatever the case might be, I think there's a principle that I was taught many years ago, and that is, imagine someone on the side of the road and they've got a broken arm. Okay, they've got a broken arm and they need to go to the hospital. Okay, so the unfortunate thing is oftentimes the habit for a lot of business owners is you end up telling them about your feature, your benefits, and all these things. Essentially, you go up to and you say, "I've got this amazing pimped out ambulance. I could take you to the hospital, but let me tell you about this ambulance. This is amazing," right? So you go into all these things, and you've got all of these bells and whistles, all of these great value added things to what you do and how you can serve them. But is that going to not just how you can serve them, but like all the graphics and all the things that you can do? That is not necessarily what they're looking for. If the pain is high enough, if you brought their attention high enough to realize how bad the pain is, they just want to get to the hospital. So it's a principle or a framework to hold on to realize, okay, do I need this? Is this really going to serve me to get them to the hospital or get them to achieve the solution or get rid of the pain that they need to get rid of, right? So that's just something to hold on to. Okay, so ensuring your success, whether you have a funnel or not. So this is another principle, okay? This particular principle was taught to me by a mentor, actually, a guy named Frank Kern. Many of you may have heard of him, know him, but basically the rule is your income is directly proportional to the amount of goodwill you have with your audience. And so it really is, that is such a key principle, such a key principle. So, and so let that inform everything. That's going to inform everything we're going to go through in what you should be doing to ensure your success of your funnel, again, whether you have one or not. So, okay, so first off, there are two sides of internet marketing, okay? You've got the before the line, essentially, before they even come into your funnel, before maybe even before you put out an offer, okay? But sometimes you're already making offers. Maybe, it's in your organic posts, it's in your emails, it's in your how you're speaking to your audience. Could be in a variety of ways. But then there's the after the line, once they've entered into your funnel, whatever that process might be, right? So those are the two sides that we're going to be focusing on here. Now, there's a great book. It is called Jab, 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 Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuk. And this book really has set up such a great foundation. The guy goes into really one thing. If you've never heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, he actually took his parents' wine business from $3 million a year to $60 million a year in 6 years. So he's got a great understanding and a great track record to implementing what I'm about to share with you into his business to make sure that when someone does respond to an offer, that there's so much more easily, they're so much more ready to say yes, okay? And the principle of jab, 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 right hook is that you just give, and then you ask, okay? And so that ask is pretty much presenting your offer. Would you like to buy, right? That's pretty much what that's referring to. But part of the question, part of that is also asking your audience what they want, what they need. Now, the trick is, here's the trick, is that we oftentimes don't really know what we need. And so it's really important that we also be a part of helping our audience to change their paradigm about how they think about certain things, right? And I know that's what pretty much all of us are in the business of doing, helping to change paradigms for people. How they look at their problem, how they look at their a way out, right? But the truth is like I said, we just don't know really what we want. There's a great quote, you may have heard this. It's been attributed to, Henry Ford. If I asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. I love that. I love that because it's like, yeah, they probably would. I love that. So it just, again, that's why it's necessary to also ask people what they want, what they think they need, right? And that also fuels you to put up more content too, to help them to change that paradigm too. So everything you put out should do three main things. It should, well, you've heard that radio station, the most famous radio station, before I go into this point, the most famous radio station is, do you know it? The most famous radio station. If you know it, put it in the chat because I want to see if anyone knows it. Probably do. Some of you do. Ah, WKRP. No, it's not really a real radio station. It's WIIFM, right? It's what's in it for me, right? So that's the guiding principle, what they want and how they get it. That's really what you should be putting out, what you need to be sharing. How can they, how do they know that you understand what they want and how can they get it, right? So it's to better their lives. It's need to be very deliberate, deliberately building goodwill with your audience. What are the things that you're sharing? How is that going to impact them? How is it going to better them? Again, it's just the give. It's the right, it's the jab. It's just slowly bites. And, you know, and if I could just use the food analogy, you're just putting out appetizers. You know, if you want people to know how good your food is, you got to give that stuff away for free. You also have to ask them, what do they want on their pizza? What do they want on their cake? Whatever the case might be, right? But the spoiler alert is that we are not really that fascinating to anyone other than ourselves or our mom, just as a kind of a, you know, not to spoil anything for you, but you know, it's that American Idol syndrome, right? Like, you know, my mom, my family says I'm a great singer. Buddy, I'm sorry, you're horrible. So, you know, it's your life though. If you understand your story can really be fascinating, but it's really understanding how to tell your story too, right? Now, I'm not going to go into the intricacies of telling stories and all that stuff, but I'm going to give you some basic understanding around some of that stuff that you may have heard before, but I'm going to remind you of that solid stuff that you need to hold on to. Let me see here. Okay. All right. So you may have heard this too. You may have heard that content is king, right? You've probably all heard content is king, but context is God. Okay. Because it doesn't matter what you say. If you're saying it to the wrong people at the wrong time, maybe on the wrong platform, it's not going to make much of a difference at all. That content could be amazing, but if it's just to the wrong audience or in the wrong space, it's not going to really work at all. So the questions, you know, to ask is it getting in front of the right people, right? The platform, the context determines the way in which it's shared. Now I had had something in the way, so I couldn't see my slides are there. And then so, you know, like Facebook, text, images, videos, Instagram, images, videos, short, sweet, right? YouTube, some videos are longer, videos are more accepted, but still short ones are always best. TikTok, only videos, right? So again, it matters where you're sharing that content, right? So, and I think that's really important to realize, what is the user experience when they receive this content, right? How are they used to seeing and experiencing and consuming content on this platform? That's really what determines how you should be sharing it. So, but the sharing your stories, right? Sharing your stories about your successes, your failures, your challenges, about folks you've helped. share questions you've been asked. But here's something I used to do too, and that was say if I know there's some great questions that need to be asked and nobody's actually legitimately asked me, I would go up to my wife or I'd go up to my friend or a business partner or whatever and say, hey, can you ask me these questions? And then it would just be legitimately, yeah, I was just asked this question. I want to share this with you, right? So, and and there's a particular passion that actually comes when you're legitimately asked too. But the other part of the other ingredients here too is to also interact with your audience's post, right? Engage with them, maybe even just little simple birthday. I know these are things that are somewhat like very basic and like you're like, no ducky, but they are things that you can easily forget, right? Simple birthday wish, even direct messaging them. Just don't go don't stalk them too much. But just find out what are certain things that you can direct message them about that might be helpful. Maybe things that you've shared before. Maybe it's a free lead magnet. Yeah, so I'm not going to go into that. Well, actually, I am going to go into that. But here's a question that can be asked. If I did a free masterclass in puppy training for first-time puppy owners, who would be interested, right? Just a real easy question like that, right? Again, that's something that you're making an offer, but it's pretty blatant, like, but you're putting it out there. If anyone wants free food, who would be interested, right? It's essentially what's happening. So the ways you can do that too is just you can do that through lead magnets, or that is essentially a lead magnet in many ways, right? And there's a number of lead magnets you can give away, but a way to do that is to make sure if you're going to give something away, put the link in your post. Don't put it in, or put it in a comment within your post, is what I meant. And then you can also just say, hey, direct message me for DM me for the direct link. But if you want to know how to create a really high performing conversion friendly lead magnet, something that people really, really want, there's some main ingredients to creating a really good lead magnet. If you go to this address right here, you can get it. There's a whole worksheet for you that I created, and it just goes over what does work. What are the type of lead magnets that do work? So like worksheets, shortcuts, cheat sheets, swipe files, right? The principle is that nobody really wants to know how to fish. They just want to know what to put in their fish sandwich, at least at first go. They just want a quick win, right? And being able to taste that fish sandwich. Oh, that tastes good. Wow, how do you make that, right? So that's ultimately what it's going to lead to. Okay, so going to your story, in terms of again, this is before the line, right? And if I'm going too fast, please tell me. But if I'm moving at the right speed and you're gonna hold on to your questions, totally cool. Okay. All right. So your story. What's that? Go ahead, Kaylee.
No, it's good speed. I just missed that bit.ly link at the end on that last slide.
Oh yeah, no, please. Yeah, go ahead. There you go.
Some people wanted it, so I'm gonna grab it really quick. Okay.
No, that's fine. Totally. Yep.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure. I try to make it pretty easy too. Like this is for the lead magnet.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, man.
Yep. It asks for us to request access from you, so you'll need to, I think.
Oh yeah. Oh shoot.
Open it up later. We can save it.
Yeah, I'll get it afterwards. Sorry guys. I don't want you getting distracted. That's why I did that. Right. Okay. So all right. So we went through this. Okay. The next one. All right. Your story matters, right? You've heard this before. Here's the really good principle to understand why stories matter is that people may be attracted to you because of the solutions you offer, but they will stick with you because of who you are and the beliefs that you represent in their mind. So as you tell your story, there's ways in which you should be telling your story. But I'm going to give you there's three main frameworks by which all great movies are made. Okay, it's essentially you've got the reluctant hero. Okay, that's like Gladiator, Braveheart, Sarah Connor of Terminator, Han Solo. It's the character would rather just stay home, raise his family, but the problem is too great, and he or she has this ability to overcome, right? Has this ability to bring change, right? And it may not even be something they were skilled to do. They just do it. They just know how to do it. Like that could just be this unconscious competence that they have, right? So that's the reluctant hero. And then the second one, which is pretty much like the us versus them. It's like, we were never taught this. Like it's using that kind of language, right? The system is working against us. It's the man, that kind of phraseology, if you would. And then the third storyline is known as the hometown boy makes good. That's like Rocky, right? Or even Alex, right? AJ, he's got that hometown boy makes good. Like, I don't know. I mean, this kid's, I don't know. I don't think he's going to make it, right? They just look down on him. It's the underdog, right? So there is a particular storyline builder that I can share with you. If you just remind me, I don't have a link for that. At least I don't think I do. No, I don't. But but yes, I have a storyline builder for you that I can share with you. So remind me or ask me afterwards and I can get that for you. So, all right, let's move on here. How to move them past the line. Now, this is the magic, right? Well, this is what our goal is, right? It's to move them into that humongous funnel. And as you've heard from Alex, from Peter Drucker, the aim of marketing is to make selling superfluous. It's really just putting, it's putting grease or oil on this slide and going and trying to do whatever you can. So all of what you do before the line really makes a huge deal to how fast and how easy it will be for them to move throughout your funnel. So by sharing content that generates high amounts of good, by showing your prospects how to get what they want, while simultaneously making offers like, hey, if I was going to put this free masterclass together, who would be interested, right? While simultaneously making offers, then you'll have a much higher chance of converting them when they do make their way through your funnel, right? All right, so the most important ingredients. Okay, I know, again, you guys might have a bunch of different questions coming up like, oh, okay, all right, can you explain a little bit more of that? I can later on. So the most important ingredients to of what happens after the funnel once they've gone past that line, right? Okay, I've got a question for you. All right, what's the most important part of your funnel? Okay, is it A, opt-in video, B, your story, C, your headline, D, your offer? Okay, put your guesses in the chat. What do you think? I was tempted to put in all of the above. I was going to use E, all of the above. Okay, all right. These are good answers. Good answers. I feel like a Family Feud. All right. Okay, so the answer is, well, I'll tell you in just a second. All right, so there is some really important things here Okay, I want you to hold on to, because I'm going to tell you the answer in just a little bit. Okay, but these there is some things to expect, some healthy expectations to have once they've gone into your phone. Okay, and this is super, super important to hold on to. Okay, we can hold these truths to be self-evident. Okay, most people will not opt in. Okay, and most people who opt in will not move past the next page. And most people who move past that next page will not schedule an appointment. And most people who schedule an appointment will actually not show up, that's supposed to say. And most people who show up will not become a client. And most people who become your client will not take action of what they're paying you to help them with. So the fact is, it's most people won't. That is so normal, right? So again, it goes back to that kind of American Idol syndrome. It's like, I've got something amazing. I have an amazing offer. I have an amazing, product or service that I can provide these people. They just don't understand, right? And they don't. That's legit. But even when they get through experiencing or tasting and seeing that the things you're laying out and letting them try are actually good, most as they move through those stages, most of them won't do anything with it, or they just won't move to the next stage. Most people won't, right? So it's really important to hold on to that. It's really, really important to hold on to that, because when you hold on to that, you don't get discouraged as much. I'm not saying you won't get discouraged, but the fact is, it prevents you from a large amount of discouragement. So what do you do when you have little or no conversions? Well, the thought, I should say the response I get a lot is I tried it. Okay, I tried setting up my funnel. I did a bunch of stuff. Okay, it didn't work. And here's the thing, you tried it, and one of the four things that always goes wrong did its job, and it went wrong. And so it's really important, again, to hold on to that normality. The normalcy is most people won't, right? It's a sad reality, but we know that to be true. Low conversion rates are not a sign that you'll never succeed. Okay, it's just a sign that something needs to be fixed. There's an opportunity for you to find a better way to say what you're saying, to offer something different, right? It takes practice, but there's only a few ingredients to fix. That's the beauty of it, right? It's just a few different things that you actually need to fix. And the rest of it makes very little difference. So how to fix low conversion rates? Well, for one, there's a hierarchy. Well, for one, I would just say it's going to depend on the metric that you're tracking. Okay, so if it's like video views or if it's engagement, things of that nature, right? But in the context of a sales funnel, after they've clicked on the ad, let's just say, or after they clicked on your link, even if it's like an organic post or something, right, or an email. There's a hierarchy of conversion optimization, and the first most important part of conversion optimization is functionality. Does it work, right? Because if you have an amazing offer, if your headline speaks so clearly to your audience and they will just so resonate with it, it doesn't matter if it comes up clunky and it doesn't work. And that call to action button doesn't work, right? That's why functionality is so incredibly important, and why I've got that picture of a mobile phone. So it's got to be mobile friendly. And in just so you know, that 80 to 90% of the folks that come through your sales funnel or your lead generation funnel, whatever funnel you have, will be doing so. 80 to 90% of them, particularly if they're coming from Facebook or some social media website, 80 to 90% of them are going on their phone. they're going through your funnel on their phone. So you have to make sure it's mobile friendly. It's functional on a mobile phone, right? It looks good, right? I'm not saying it has to look gorgeous and beautiful and it's stunning, you know, but it's got to be functional. And consistency is so key. So what I mean by that is it's much like food. If you are getting a particular, it's got to have the same smell and same taste. So your headline should say pretty much the same thing your ad does, right? It shouldn't say something totally different, you know, and it's got to have the same, again, same smell, same taste throughout. Because the other question for a lot of users is, did I get to the right page? And like they click a button, they've just given you their name and email address. The skeptics, you know, the concern that some users will have is, am I on the right page? Was I taken to the right page, right? So if having the same thing that you said in the previous page, that consistency is super important. So conversion optimization 101. All right, so this is where you're going to get your answer, okay? It's not the headline. The headline is not the most important. And but if we're going to fix the headline, the questions you need to kind of ask is it relevant to your target audience? Does it create hope for the person's future? Does it promise to help the person avoid future suffering? Right? Will it help them get rid of that broken arm, the pain from their broken arm? I have a dog and we got him last year. That's not the picture of my puppy, but that was the one I found. But this is why, so you've got, let me just go back here real quick here. So you have headline. Headline is one of the three most important, okay? But the after headline, it's your story. Do they understand your story? Believe it or not, like, so just a little example, believe it or not, I was scared of getting a puppy. The responsibilities plagued me, and I swore I'd never own one. But my friends always called me a puppy whisperer. So after I adopted my first puppy, I figured out some crazy tricks that anyone can follow in 3 days that makes them look like a pro dog trainer. So that's okay. So yeah. So basically, you know, it's helping them before the line know your story, right? Now, granted, that's not always going to happen. They may just see your ad. They may just be compelled by the headline and the next ingredient too, which is the most important, which is your offer, right? Because your offer, your story could just be mundane. It could be just bleh, right? And your headline could just be okay. But if your offer is amazing, right? This is why for such a long time, CIA has done $1 ticket for a 3-day seminar. Like that's an irresistible offer, right? Why, you know, AJ put out this irresistible offer on day 2 and day 3. Like it's once you see all of the value that can provide, all of the ways in which that person can get rid of their suffering and all of these things, right? If that offer is great, then everything else is secondary. This is the thing that you need to really focus on more than anything. But beyond like the functionality, things of that nature, right? Your offer is so critical. But again, this is why AJ constantly says, make offers, right? Always be making offers. Show them exactly, you know, show them the exact step-by-step process for free. That's, you know, just one element of an offer, right? Or some ingredients to the type of offer that works really well, right? Doing it for free, providing a masterclass, providing a training, whatever you want to call it, right? And doing it with some urgency, with some scarcity. Like, you know, this will only be available until I release it to the public later this year. But here's the cool thing, even if you continue this funnel, like, you know, if you continue doing it, that's fine. If it remains free, that's okay. It's your product. It's your business. You can do what you want. Just create a reason for it. You know, I've seen so many people's lives impacted by what I've shared before. So I decided to make it free, continue letting it be free. But I'm still not sure how long that's going to be, right? So there's definitely legitimacy into that, but no one's going to be saying, hey, I noticed 4 months ago you changed, you switched and you made it free again. Well, yeah, that's a good thing, right? And that'd be a good thing. So, all right. So here's the other rule, is that the reason it works well for the few, and this is kind of on the other side of creating a healthy expectation too, or having a healthy expectation, is the reason it works so well for the few and not so well for many others is because of what's going on before the line. So you might hear of certain people's successes with their funnel. Now, oftentimes it can be very much attributed to what's going on beforehand. And that's why it's really important to actually be figuring out how can you continue to make offers, continue to tell your story in such a way as to really bring great value to improve people's lives, to help them understand that you can provide them with a solution, help them get rid of their problem. And maybe you can do that for free, or help them at least taste and see that you can get rid of their hunger, using the food analogy, right? And then lastly here, oh, did this go this? Wow, I'm really impressed. I usually go over. So the key here is just finding the choking point within your funnel, or sometimes within what you're posting or what you're sharing, right? But it's finding the choking point. It's no opt-ins. So if there's no opt-ins, work on your landing page. I mean, frankly, if there's no one clicking your ad, what do you work on? You work on the ad, right? And you also should be working on the content you put around, or that you're already producing, you're already sharing. So if there's no opt-ins, you work on the landing page. If no to little video views, maybe on your power content or your masterclass, whatever the case might be, work on your pitch, work on your power content. If there's no scheduled calls, work on your offer or your intake form. I mean, there's some real, you just look at the choking point, you're like, okay, this is where people are stopping, right? And again, some of this stuff is like, no ducky. Yeah, of course it is. But sometimes this stuff we need to be reminded of it too. And then nobody showing up, well, work on your intake form and maybe your follow-up process, right? All sorts of different things that you can do, but it doesn't have to be as overwhelming, because oftentimes there's just one choking point that can if you just take away one particular obstacle, then they can get through your funnel much easier, right? They may end up saying yes more to getting on a call or watching your power content video, whatever the case may be. It really comes down to micro commitments, because as people go through your funnel, and not only go through your funnel before the line, the amount of attention that they're giving you is a little commitment, right? So the more commitments that they're giving you, the more micro commitments that you're just putting out there and asking them to respond to engage with. That's really what it's all about. And so this is why it's also important to not have a big ask too early. It's why it's important to give, right? And then ask. So, and that leads me pretty much to the end, but I'm going to share a real quick story. You see this peanut M&M, bag of peanut M&Ms many years ago, 2001. My friend Adrian and I were in the back seat of a Nissan Sentra coupe, so 2 doors, and our wives are driving. Well, his wife is driving. My wife, Karina, is in the front passenger seat. And I ended up, so throughout our drive, my friend Adrian and I, we were just like poke at each other, like, hit each other a little bit here and there, just being, it was all in good fun. And we also knew that kind of it pushed the buttons of of our wives. They're like, because there's stop it. And anyway, point is that we had gone through San Francisco, and we had driven through San Francisco, and his wife was driving, and we kept hitting different one-way streets throughout the city. And we were doing great backseat driving back there. I mean, we were really good. I mean, so, and they weren't getting annoyed at all. No, they were actually pretty pissed. And so we ended up going on, finally getting out of the city and then on the Golden Gate Bridge. And my buddy Adrian passes around a bag of peanut M&Ms as a way to just like offer truce, just like, I'm sorry, we're sorry, here you go, passes it around, gives it to everyone, and then it ends with me. And I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna just take the rest of the bag. So I stick out my tongue to claim the rest of the bag, and there's not very many left in there. So I do, and it goes right down my windpipe. And I'm in my back seat, the back seat of this car, seatbelt on the Golden Gate Bridge. And all of a sudden, Adrian sees, I can't breathe. I can't do anything, right? He starts giving me the Heimlich, right? He starts just saving my life. And he tells Erica to pull over. We're on the Golden Gate Bridge, mind you. And and my wife yells back, says, "Stop it, guys." They think we're just wrestling around and just being funny. And that wasn't the case. And his wife sees in the rearview mirror that I'm trying to breathe through every orifice in my face. Like, she's realizing there is something definitely wrong with Keith. And so finally, as we're in their seatbelts together, he is struggling to give me the Heimlich maneuver. I get it out. And it's a red peanut M&M. So from here on out, I will never eat peanut M&Ms. But I found the choking point, and that's, I'm not allergic to peanuts or anything. I just got a little too eager. So the lesson is, don't get too eager. Understand you just can't swallow too much. You don't want to buy too much. You don't want to sign up for too much. You want to move along in building, not just building your funnel, and having a funnel, but also in the things that you're putting out there, right? And what you're doing before the line. So that's super important. I know that was kind of like a out of the left field kind of story, but I had to share that with you. So that's pretty much it. I hope this helped you guys.